our colleagues that have joined us for today's book launch event. Welcome to everybody. My name is Sue Pather. Despite what you see on the screen, I'm using somebody else's computer, and I'm a teaching and learning specialist in the Office of the DVC Academic at the University of the Western Cape. I am also HELTASA Deputy President, a post I share with Greg. All of you got to meet Greg earlier. And for this evening, your program director. We are really excited to see such a big audience that have showed up during supper time. And we want to thank you actually for supporting this event and being here to congratulate the team and the wonderful book that they have put together. The title of the book, Critical Reflections on Professional Learning, Context, Choice, and Change during the COVID-19 period. This book was conceptualized in June 2021 last year during the COVID period by two HELTASA members, Dr. Rosalind Govender and Dr. Anthea Jacobs. Both of them are team members of the HELTASA Professional Learning Scholarship Group. The book is a collection of written reflections on academics' professional learning during the emergency remote teaching. We had a total of 29 authors and co-authors that contributed to the book chapters. They provide a snapshot of what transpired behind the scenes as their institutions prepared for and also executed the emergency remote plans. These reflections also offer glimpses into how staff in higher education displayed resilience, innovation, and compassion while working from a place of uncertainty. We are quite excited to be launching this book, especially since this week is Open Access Week. And our next speaker is going to talk more about that Open Access Week. So what should I say? So let's just get right into the program. And I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is Dr. Paladi. He is the Director of Library Science at the Durban University of Technology. Dr. Paladi has more than 20 years of experience in the academic and corporate libraries and within the information system industry. Prior to coming to DUT in 2021, Dr. Paladi was the manager of library and information systems at TUT. He has many publications under his name and has presented papers at library information sciences related conferences and published scholarly works in the field of knowledge management, knowledge skills management, and on mixed methods research. So I now welcome Dr. Paladi.
Good evening, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening, Dr. Paladi.
Colleagues, I'm going to switch on my camera. I'm sure you'll agree with me that we are living an era of a fourth industrial revolution. Robotics and machine learning, and anything is possible. So I'm switching my camera so that you can see that Dr. Paladi is not a robot, but rather as a human being. But in the interest of saving my bandwidth, I'll switch off the camera a little bit so that, I don't, eat too much into my bandwidth. Colleagues, good evening. We are indeed honored, to be a strategic partner, publishing partner of this important book launch milestone. It's indeed exciting time that this book launch coincides with the International Open Week activities. And the Open Access Week provides us with an opportunity to connect the global movement and momentum towards the open sharing of scientific knowledge with the advancement of policy changes and the importance of social issues affecting people around the world. The event is celebrated by individuals, researchers, universities, and research institutions across the globe. The theme for 2022 that we are celebrating this week, it's about open for climate justice. This year focus on climate justice seeks to encourage discourse, connection and collaboration among the climate movement and the international open access communities. Colleagues, sharing knowledge is a human right issue, and addressing the socio-economic challenges require the repeat exchange of knowledge. Of course, not just knowledge, but rather, scientific knowledge across geographic, economic, as well as disciplinary specific boundaries. And International Open Access Week is about a time to coordinate across scientific communities, like we're gathering here today, to make openness the default mechanism for research and to ensure that an equitable and universal access is at the center of the scientific knowledge production and distribution system. Colleagues, in 2013, GTS University of Technology became one of the first UOTs in South Africa to sign the Berlin Declaration on open access to knowledge in the sciences and humanities. This signaled a change in gear, our commitment to increase our efforts in open access, going beyond just focusing on facilitating access to scientific knowledge, but to also include research data and produce open educational resources to support program qualification mix, but as well as to include, or rather as to support open access publishing through a library publishing initiative to publish open access books and journals. Colleagues, without getting too much into detail, I'm proud to say that as a university, we are making excellent progress in terms of publishing open access. For example, just in 2022, for the first 6 months of 2022, 25% of research articles that were published by DT, authors or scholars, was in open access. And if we were compared to 2021 publication, just about 50% of the research articles were published in open access, which numerically this reflects and showed that 315 out of the 607 research articles that were published for 2021, 50% of that was in open access. The UT Library is also supporting these initiatives through transformative agreements that allow our researchers to publish open access without having to pay an APC. An APC which means article processing charges. Colleagues, open access enhances visibility and discoverability of your authorship and research outputs as a researcher, thus translating into increased citation rates and university ranking. And I must say, much of what we see in terms of our own South African ratings, those that are in the top 5 bear testimony to this, to the visibility and discoverability of what they produce. My dear colleagues and distinguished guests, as the library director, I represent libraries as critical stakeholders in the scientific knowledge production and distribution system. I verily believe that science should flourish in an environment that is open, developmental, inclusive, and sustainable. It is for this reason that as the UT Library, Smart Library, we have directed much of our library investment philosophy towards building a truly modern, smart, open knowledge production distribution system through the development of our own portfolio of open journals, open books, G2 Open Scholar, and our participation in transformative agreements. So far, we have 4 open access books on our library open monograph press platform. And the latest book edition to our book publishing platform is what we are launching today, a book by HELTASA titled Critical Reflection on Professional Learning During COVID-19, subtitled Context, Practice, and Change. Colleagues, we have also reached a great milestone in terms of journal publishing. For example, in this regard, the acclaimed African Journal of Interdisciplinary Multidisciplinary Science, which is the DHET-approved journal, is going strong and is currently on volume 4, issue number 1, on our continental journal publishing platform. And this is hosted by the library. These initiatives, colleagues, are aligned to our Vision 2030 and the library strategy in terms of the sustainability of scientific knowledge production distribution system, producing research that is immediately available, free of charge, therefore ensuring just and equitable and universal access to public funded research. I'm sure colleagues will agree with me that there's 26 universities within this country, inclusive of the Research Council as part of the National System of Innovation. You will understand and agree with me that the research that we produce remain public funded research and therefore must be made freely available so that it can address socio-economic challenges of our country and our communities. Colleagues, GUT Library Publishing Platform is gaining momentum. We are indeed privileged to collaborate with HELTASA on this important open access initiative. These are some of the strategic initiatives that are aimed towards making open access a default publishing mechanism for scientific knowledge, especially the publicly funded research and authorship. Our strategic publishing partnership with HELTASA on this book publication bear testimony to the fact that as GUT Library, we have fully embraced the emerging role of libraries as publishers of scientific knowledge. And this publishing role is anchored on the principles of openness, fairness, and just equitable and universal access. Open scholarship is a growth area for us as libraries and other university libraries across the country. And as such, we'll continue investing in more resources, both financial and human capital, capability and systems and processes to support the growth. Colleagues, in summing up, I would like to indicate that there are some areas that need our urgent attention, and it's through the development of strategic partnerships, like with the key stakeholders, in the research enterprise, like the likes of HELTASA, the research office, researchers, and other interested stakeholders, that we aim to entrench open access as the new normal, as the default mechanism for publishing public-funded research and authorship. This is largely because we firmly believe that public-funded research should be made available free of charge, free of copyright restriction, to address socio-economic challenges facing our communities. Colleagues, thanks so much. And congratulations to the launch of this new book. We're looking forward for more collaborative partnership and project in the future. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I think we should have the clapping sign. That's really good. I'm doing a clap as well. Thank you, Dr. Paladi, for that. And well done to you and the DUT team. I think open access will definitely contribute to open access to knowledge sharing and sustainability, like you mentioned. Thank you for that. Our next guest speaker is Rita Ganes. And Rita Ganes is currently our president and chair of HELTASA. She is also a steering committee member of the New Academics Transitioning into Higher Education project. She is a TAO advisory board member, a member on the National Coordinating Council for the Enhancing Academics as University Teachers, and a council member of the International Consortium for Educational Development. And believe me, colleagues, she also has a day job, right? Her day job is at the University of Witwatersrand. She is a lecturer and an educational developer based at the Center for Learning, Teaching and Development at the university, and works with academic staff development programs. So welcome to you, Rita. I think Rita is kind of frozen. Rita, can you hear us?
Sorry.
Hi.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me, Sue?
Okay, yes, great. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I am a little concerned about the internet as well, but I'm going to go on. And I'd firstly like to say, this is a huge and momentous occasion, and I want to really thank everybody for joining us in what I see as a celebration.
Sorry, Sue,
Rita, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I think maybe put off
can you hear me?
put your camera off and we can hear you.
I will.
Yeah. Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
great. So yes, can you hear me now? And I really apologize for this.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sure. Yeah, and I just want to say we are bursting with pride at this moment, and we want to pay homage as well to the past HELTASA membership, the past leadership as well, that has got us to this point to be able to bring out our first publication. And the principles he spoke about, the organization as well is reflective, if I may be biased, of the principles mentioned, like openness and justice, and seeking to have an opportunity for knowledge creation and sharing. So I was asked to read the foreword of this book. It's what I've written as a form of encouragement for you to dive into this book as well. I'm going to go ahead right now. So I think the book, first of all, in terms of the title, what the book offers us is a collection of South African higher education stories during a very tumultuous moment. But the stories are very real, authentic, yes, messy at times, and yet emancipatory and uniquely transformative. And for that, we are really proud of all the authors and the collaborations to put this book together. The collective efforts of our colleagues show up as the journeys of transitioning professionals within higher education in the global South. As part of its continuous contribution to learning and teaching, HELTASA is required to respond and engage timeously to unfolding events and happenings, whether they pose threats or opportunities. And so this is a real good example of what was achieved during moments of vulnerability and threats as well. The reflections of these authors in response to a changing higher education landscape during the COVID moments amplifies the spirit of not only a transitioning higher education practitioner, but also that of our Southern African higher education institutions. It reflects the changing spirit of the sector, and particularly our own organization, HELTASA. The unique voices across this book is indicative of our restructuring processes and the collaborative platforms that has enabled for academic developers, academics, professional staff, and students working towards an integrated tertiary learning, teaching, and research practices to come together and collaborate. The unfolding, reflective, and reflexive stories in this book is infused with the HELTASA values of relevance, responsiveness, and resilience, our 3 R's, as we call it. And this is underpinned by our 3 C's, which is the opportunity to create more capacity, capability, and offer commitment. The vulnerable and relatable moments through each story enables the reader to embark on their own deep dive and explore our pains, gains, and our transitions during this moment. The pages within the book showcase individual and collective higher education agency that can be harnessed and contextually adapted to negotiate and navigate potential challenges and opportunities every one of us may find, even in moments of crisis. Special tribute and commendation is paid to HELTASA's professional learning project team, Dr. Govender and Dr. Jacobs, for their leadership in responding to the call and taking up the courage for this book project. Please excuse that phone, I'm so sorry. To all authors who have contributed to knowledge generation within the Global South by sharing their stories, their personal and contextual relevance, their responsiveness and resilience in their vulnerable moments. We thank you, we congratulate you. To all our membership for your commitment and ongoing support and responsiveness. To a transitioning HELTASA as well, who courageously took to the stern to weather the storm of change through transformative action. And finally, to all the readers of this book, as you turn over the pages of inspiration to fuel your higher education aspirations, I urge you to join us, the HELTASA community, and be part of our celebratory story. We did it our way. Thank you so much, Sue. I really apologize for the noise in the background.
That's okay, Rita. That was really good. I mean, we heard it loud and clear. It was really good. And I think with that kind of introduction, we're quite excited now to introduce the two editors, Dr. Rosalind Govender and Dr. Anthea Jacobs, who has done a sterling job in bringing this book together. I think let me do justice to both of them, looking so good today. You actually clean up quite nicely. Dr. Rosalind Govender has been working within the field of basic and higher education for the past 3 decades, and her experience spans across student, staff, and curriculum development. At institutional level, she has served as a member of several task teams, including General Education and Siyaphumelela. At national level, she serves as the project manager of the HELTASA's Professional Learning Project. She is a co-convener of DUT SNS International Teaching and Learning Collaborations, and she is currently working as an academic development practitioner at the Durban University of Technology, with a focus on professional learning, student support, and curriculum development. And her co-pilot, both of them working closely together on this project, is Dr. Jacobs, Anthea Jacobs, who has experience working as an educationist in the basic and higher education sectors. She sees herself as a teaching and learning jack of all trades, and that is so true if we're in this field. Happiest when she's working with academics who are keen to explore the field of education. An important focus of her is the strengthening of the scholarship of higher education teaching and learning, and she believes that collaborative engagement is key to building the next generation of educationists. She currently works as advisor to higher education teaching and learning at the University of Stellenbosch and is responsible for professional development of academics. I now hand you over to Dr. Govender and Dr. Jacobs.
Good evening and a warm welcome to you all as well. It's been an amazing journey for Anthea and myself in terms of, just conceptualizing this book and seeing it all come together. It's been a really wonderful experience. And as I was just reflecting on the book today, and I thought, we actually captured a moment in time. And we know that COVID came with lots of pain, and we acknowledge the pain that it brought. It brought lots of suffering. But in that moment, that we experience, I think that this book has captured what has happened in higher education. Critical reflections on professional learning during COVID-19, context, practice, and change, is a collection of written reflections on South African academics' professional learning during emergency remote teaching and how they navigated the rethinking and adaptation of teaching, learning, and assessment. Seen through the lens of the impact of the COVID pandemic on professional practice, the book opens up perspectives on a wide variety of teaching and learning context and practices, demonstrating how it can be used to reimagine the higher education landscape. And as you page the book, you will see the beautiful ideas that have come forth. It provides a snapshot of what transpired behind the scenes as the higher education sector prepared for and executed ERT. These reflections also offer glimpses into how staff in higher education displayed resilience as they moved from feelings of angst, desperation, fear, trepidation, and excitement to a sense of innovation, accomplishment, and fulfillment. What is evident about the reflections in this book are academics' honest insights into the scholarly and practical measures engaged during ERT, as well as the support for each other through the various communities of practice. These reflections highlight some of the challenges and tensions that emerged, but it also presents an opportunity to celebrate the lessons learned and to build on the possibilities for change in practice through professional learning. It is my pleasure now to take you through on a snapshot through our book. Just going to share my screen. Can you see that, Anthea?
Yes, it is sharing. Thank you so much, Rosalie. There we go.
Thank you. I'm just going to switch my camera up because of connectivity. So this book is dedicated to all higher education staff and students for their resilience and indomitable spirit during the COVID-19 pandemic. You have inspired and continue to inspire in ways unmeasured.
Yeah.
The book has 4 themes, and I will take you to the first 2 themes. Theme 1, reflections on journeys in professional learning. The first chapter. So the first theme, reflecting on our journeys, is vital to our professional learning and resonates with Shun, who advocates for the expert who is awake to and aware of their practice, not just immersed in it. Shun further expounds that we must reflect in action and also on action. It is through these periods of reflection that we are able to transform our practice as higher education practitioners. In moving beyond the classroom to embrace teaching and learning in a virtual space, the author reflects on his own trajectory on professional learning. He recounts his personal experiences of how COVID-19 propelled him to learn new ways of engaging with students in humanizing ways. The next chapter, transformative pedagogies in teaching, learning, and assessment through the COVID-19 crisis, draws our attention to the importance of linking the principle of transformation for a socially just world with ERT initiatives. This chapter highlights the magnitude of reflecting on our professional learning, which has the ability to transform our thinking and practice. The journey into e-learning is one of me-learning, reflection and changing pedagogical practices in an online world provides a critical reflection of how professional learning transpired as the authors share their self-learning experiences during COVID-19. The authors assert that ongoing reflexive practice and creativity combined with researching, sharing, and collaboration are key components in improving teaching and learning. In this chapter, online engagement with students during a pandemic, lessons learned in first-year mega psychology classes, the authors discuss how reflective practices underpinned their personal and professional development. They focus on the potential of collaborative professional learning and the incumbent deep connections as they endeavor to improve their practice by acquiring novel ways of navigating the newfangled learning and teaching terrain. Reflections from implementing a faculty strategy for academic professional learning during a global pandemic provides a reflective account of the author's encounters in designing and facilitating professional learning support during the COVID pandemic. The authors purport that professional development should be holistic and responsive to the needs of academics and should be informed by an ethic of care. So this takes us to the second theme, which is creating spaces for connection. Schism contends that space can have a powerful impact on learning. We cannot overlook space in our attempts to accomplish our teaching, learning, and assessment goals. This has become especially important during emergency remote teaching. With the shift from in-person to online interactions via ERT, lecturers and academic developers were required to create online spaces to hold the academic project. In building online communities, exploring the conditions for interpersonal and cognitive connections, the question of how to recreate spaces for connection and community in the online environment were addressed. The authors offer suggestions for ways in which various online communities might be maintained and strengthened to enhance teaching and learning beyond COVID-19. This chapter, entitled Catalytic Power of a Pandemic, on enacting agency in professional higher education spaces through communities of practice, builds on this notion of the value of the pandemic for establishing communities of practice by critically reflecting on how these communities of practice contributed to the author's agential metamorphosis. The author makes recommendations on how higher education stakeholders can use communities of practice to elicit and enact agency in professional learning spaces. In this chapter entitled, I Am Still Here, Lessons from Incorporating Social Presence in Remote Teaching, the authors remind us of how emergency remote teaching stripped away the sense of connection between lecturers and students, as well as their own identity. In this chapter, three important aspects are discussed to try and restore this disconnection. Firstly, familiarity, creating spaces where students feel seen and heard. Secondly, being present, showing up in both the synchronous as well as the asynchronous spaces. Online identity. Thirdly, online identity is very important, where teachers incorporate their unique personalities in the online sessions. In this chapter, Narrowing the Geographical Divide, a critical reflection of an affordance of the COVID-19 pandemic for collaborative professional learning and development. This chapter, the authors offer an account of how the pandemic changed their interactions with each other. They elaborate on the affordances experienced as academics from different universities working together online and how it opened future possibilities for collaboration. In exploring the interplay of confidence, authenticity, and risk through professional learning, the author critically reflects on how building students' confidence in their academic writing led her on a journey of authentic professional learning. In this chapter, she explores the notion of practicing authentic self-representation and how this can be used to both define one's own identity and build confidence in others. In this chapter, chapter 11, it provides a very interesting perspective on the online learning space through a university online management system. And this chapter looks at how the university learning management system can act as a boundary object, integrating context and content, allowing students, staff, and the university to connect during emergency remote teaching. This enabled academics to revisit past teaching, learning, and assessment practices and create new pedagogical approaches. The chapters in theme 2 confirm the observation by Gravett et al. 2022 that the move to emergency remote teaching is blurring the boundaries of higher education spaces and places, reorienting what it means to teach and learn in a higher education digital landscape. I hand you over to Anthea, who will take us through the remaining 2 themes. Anthea?
Thank you very much, Rosaline, for unpacking the first 2 themes of our book and sharing that with the audience. From my side, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, colleagues, and friends. It is indeed heartwarming to see all of you in the audience today. Thank you for coming out in your numbers to celebrate with us this momentous occasion in both of our careers for both Rosaline and I. And I see that we have more than 56 members in the audience, and that during your supper time. So thank you very, very much. So Rosaline took us through the first 2 themes of the book. So I will now be taking you through theme 3 and theme 4, the remaining 2 themes, and also bring the book to a conclusion. So in the interest of bandwidth, I am going to switch off my camera as well, and then speak to the remaining 2 themes. So theme number 3 is transforming online pedagogies. So the COVID-19 pandemic compelled higher education institutions to make rapid transition from familiar ways of teaching. And I am sure that you can all share experiences of this transition process. While some practitioners were primed for ERT and made a smooth transition, others had to quickly learn to navigate the online terrain. In this section of the book, the authors critically reflect on how they transformed their online learning pedagogies from emergency remote teaching and document the learnings that ensued. Chapter 12, reflecting on pivoting to emergency remote online teaching and learning during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, feedback from 3 English second language, ESL for short, teachers. This chapter proposes practical suggestions on how ESL teachers may be supported in their professional development to navigate digital learning. The author affirms that reflection is an effectual means to manage and develop ESL teachers holistically. In chapter 13, Higher Education versus COVID-19 Impact Towards an Inclusive Higher Education, reflections on UCT's emergency remote learning and teaching from a student perspective, the author discusses the findings from a survey conducted with a reasonably large sample of students as respondents, providing a synopsis of students' experiences with emergency remote teaching. The author advises that universities should invest in digital infrastructure in order to decrease the digital divide that exists among students and also inculcate practices that support the well-being of students. Getting the balance right, reflecting on the study pack as a pedagogical tool for self-directed learning in an extended curriculum program during the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is chapter 14, uses Mezirov's 10 phases of transformative practice to critically reflect on providing sufficient meaningful pedagogic tools for student success and fostering student self-directedness. The author concludes that the process of critical reflection is emancipatory and transformative, which both are fundamental to professional learning. Chapter 15, using a transformative learning pedagogy remotely, reflections of early career academics in the context of COVID-19, provides a reflective perspective on the significance of supporting early career academics to adapt pedagogy and assessment tools for online provision in order to ensure that the intended learning outcomes of modules are achieved. And now we move over to the final theme, which is theme number 4, reimagining alternative ways of teaching in higher education. The move to emergency remote teaching was a catalyst for change of the teaching, learning, and assessment project for some academics, allowing for pedagogies that are more focused on developing students' inquiring minds as lifelong learners. But unfortunately, as experience has taught us, this is not true for everyone. We therefore continuously need to address and interrogate and improve our teaching, learning, and assessment practices to ensure that we honor the need for a transformative student experience. The chapters grouped together under this particular theme speak of innovative ways in which this could be achieved. The wide variety of contexts represented in theme 4 makes for truly interesting reading. Moving from the context of wine science in the information finding missiles chapter to the context of dance education, the lessons from emergency remote teaching as reflected in theme 4 are really insightful. In developing learning partnerships in the postgraduate classroom, chapter 16, the authors employed the theory of connectivism of engaging students as partners in higher education, as well as the pedagogy of partnering to engage students as partners in the design and delivery of the curriculum. As facilitators of learning, they demonstrate the pedagogical shifts required to design learning activities that encourage sustained and active student participation. Chapter 17, Guiding Information Finding Missiles, a reflection on adopting assessments to maximize student learning in the online environment, reveals how the author had to find alternative ways to assess during emergency remote teaching so that students could demonstrate creativity, originality, and critical thinking rather than just recalling or finding information. The author emphasizes that adapting assessments for the online environment can be a valuable opportunity to reimagine ways of doing things that incorporate students' lived experience, thus creating new knowledge. In reflections on a compulsory dance at home course for pre-service student teachers during lockdown, the author reflects on new dance teaching practices which emerged during emergency remote teaching. Students had to provide evidence of participation in dance activities by means of video recordings, photos, or writing a short reflection. Pedagogically, this new method of teaching dance education is unique as it develops student autonomy. Chapter 19. In Writing Center Tutors' Experiences and Perceptions of Online Academic Support, reflecting on the digital transformation during the COVID-19 pandemic, the context moves to tutors at a writing center during emergency remote teaching. The authors argue that tutoring in a multimodal environment contributes to transformation as it enables more students to participate successfully in diverse communication processes. And I see lots of hand clapping and hearts going up for this one. Whilst on the topic of multimodality, in Rethinking English Academic Literacy Practices During a Pandemic, Mobility and Multimodality, Chapter 20, the author critically reflects on how the pandemic has demonstrated to what extent mobility and instability are unrecognized norms of academic literacy. The author suggests that teaching practices would be transformed if these norms were recognized, with possible implications for decolonizing English teaching, learning, and assessment at post-colonial universities. So, colleagues and guests, to summarize, the chapters in Theme 4 demonstrate academics' courage and reflexivity, which according to Babalwa 2020 publication, are requirements for a truly transformative student experience. The COVID-19 pandemic and resultant migration to emergency remote teaching have shown that academics are able to adapt and reimagine teaching, learning, and assessment, which bodes well for navigating an uncertain higher education landscape. Through this book project, Rosaline and I have learned so much from what other colleagues know and do, and that has changed our own personal professional perspectives. That is why this quotation from Dal Alba 2009 resonates with us, and I am going to read it to you. Quote, "Learning to become a professional involves not only what we know and can do, but also who we are becoming. It involves integration of knowing, acting, and being in the form of professional ways of being that unfold over time." Close quotes. In conclusion, the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic provided a portal or a gateway for higher education practitioners to pause, to step back, and reflect on what we are doing as professionals and who we are becoming as professionals. The pandemic also opened up spaces for reimagining and forging new learning pathways for professional learning. Seen through the lens of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on professional practice, the book opens up perspectives on a wide variety of teaching and learning education landscape. Colleagues and guests, indeed a mouthful. I thank you for listening so attentively. And I am now going to hand back to Sue, the program director. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was so interesting and really a mouthful. And I'm sure people have been writing down questions and things that they were concerned about, and even comments. You could see from all the claps and the hearts that was coming that, you know, they could identify with different areas, different themes in the book. So, Anthea and Rosaline, thank you so much for sharing with us and putting this together. It was a difficult time during COVID, and while trying to navigate your own jobs, then putting this whole uh, um, book together and going through those 20 chapters, you know, must have been a real task. So we're going to open up for questions now. And please just unmute, put your hand up, unmute, and you can ask a question to the two editors, or if you want, the authors as well. And we'll just have an open session now for 10 minutes. So I see plus 54 has a hand up. Go ahead. Plus 54, I see a hand up. I can't see the person's name. Let's see. Is it M. Masho? Yeah, Mashotole.
Yes. I think they need to
Mashotole, you can unmute and go ahead. Don't be scared of Rosalind. You can ask any question you want.
I would direct it
Maybe
to the
it's a whole
authors.
historic hunt.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that.
He said
Okay,
it's a
then.
historic hand. So I think, Sue, we can open up for comments as well. It doesn't have to be a question. It can just be a comment,
Yes.
or if we've got authors here as well, you know, they could maybe share something from their chapter or anything, any comments.
Okay. And we have some lovely comments in the chat as well. If you go through the chat, we have some well dones and congratulations to the editors as well. Also highlighting the lovely blend of voices that came out from the different chapters.
I noticed, oh, there Sean posted it. I noticed a comment about where one can download a copy, but Sean came to the rescue and he posted the link. Thanks so much, Sean. Dependable as ever.
Yeah, the book is officially launched now because now you have a copy of the link. So please share the link with everyone at your institutions or families because it's really a great book, really. So let's have some comments. I'm interested in the comments. No
or
comments.
if there are any of the authors in the audience that would like to share with us their experience, was it a difficult process? Did they enjoy the process? What did they learn from it? Any of the authors? I see my colleague Marian McKay is in the audience. Marian, sorry for putting you on the spot, but you have to say something.
You are putting me on the spot, Anthea. you horror. I actually do want to say something. I do, because it was just because my experience of having to do. I mean, we all experience this, having to suddenly find different ways of doing things. And I was really quite chuffed with myself for what I managed to achieve. And it was kind of frustrating that I didn't have a way of sharing it with anyone. And, you know, all the people in my environment who were complaining about tests and how the students just cheat. And I was like, but
just find a different way. And it was lovely to have this opportunity to share this work. So thank you for the opportunity. It's been, yeah, I just love that I could write it down and I could actually talk about it to people who would appreciate it. So thank you for the opportunity and well done. It's a great book.
Thank you so much, Marian, and you are most welcome. And I wanted to say it is only because I'm so proud of you that I put you on the spot. So well done, Marian.
Yeah, I think, Anthea, I've just been thinking about that there lots of authors actually went through their own personal trauma whilst writing the chapters. So, you know, I know one author experienced a death in the family, and some of them, you know, they also contracted COVID. So there was different things that were happening with the authors as well. So I actually want to acknowledge that experiences that they went through, but they actually came through at the end. And for some authors, it was the first time that they published. So there was a bit of hand holding as well, which was good because it was, you know, we actually guided them through the process. And I did receive some comments as well to say, you know, thank you so much for guiding us and taking us through this process. And for us, for Anthea and I, it was the first time that we, you know, edited a book. Yes, we had contributed book chapters before, but it's the first time we were on the other side of things. And, you know, and then we had Sean to also hold our hands because
Yes,
it was all the
definitely.
time, you know, Sean was our go-to guy. Thank you so much, Sean. And I think Sean is part of our team because we went to him for advice and what to do, especially using the DUT press. It was the first time that you know, we were using the DUT press. It was really great. But again, going back to the trauma that our authors experienced, but they still wrote through the pain. So thank you so much.
Yes, and I would like to just also link onto one of the points that you mentioned earlier on, Rosaline, about the opportunity for early career academics, for young academics to be part of this project. For us, I think the project was done from a belief that we should really provide opportunities for young academics to also become involved and to reflect on their teaching, learning, and assessment practices. And I remember the workshop that we had online where we guided them through the process of reflective writing and how appreciative they were of the workshop. So for me, the fact that we could do that for them and that we provided this opportunity for them to become involved, that's one of the highlights of this book process for me. So to them, I would also like to say well done. And then, of course, our more experienced colleagues who are experienced publishers, not publishers, article writers and who are esteemed publishers. To them, I would like to also say well done and thank you for being part of the review process. We learned from one another, definitely. It was a huge learning curve, but it was a good one. And I'm sure that navigating through all of the contributions, you know, it just bodes well, as I said in the conclusion, for going forward and doing our thing in the higher education landscape.
Yeah, I can see a comment here from Annaline Nell, which says, for me, contributing to the chapter, along with my colleagues, gave me the chance to reflect. And then it disappears, okay. Gave me the chance to reflect on what we accomplished in a difficult situation. We really managed to put something of ourselves and our own personalities into a digital environment. And the learners or the students responded very positively. So thank you so much for that. There's a hand, Sue. I think it's Marilies van Heerden.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. You know, for myself, I also felt that it was really great that we could reflect. The whole idea of writing a reflective piece never actually crossed my mind. I didn't think that one could publish such a thing. And it was so super that I learned about that. that one can also reflect on your own experiences. You don't always have to collect data and have ethics clearance for data collection, which is obviously necessary when you do collect data, but that you can actually write from a reflective perspective. And that for me was really, yes, it was wonderful. It was such a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for that. And then I would also like to thank all of you just for pushing also to get it open access. I think that is super exciting.
We have another
Shannon.
hand,
Yeah.
I think, Bishop.
Yeah, Shannon.
Thank you so much. I just again want to just echo both of the speakers before, and just to say thanks again to both Dr. Govender and Dr. Jacobs. It's just so fortunate to work with Dr. Jacobs at Stellenbosch University, and to have this opportunity as both an early careers researcher and someone who went through, personal trauma through COVID, and just want to say thank you for this opportunity to get this onto the page. And it was such a personal experience as well. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for that really nice comment, Shannon. Yes, indeed, a pleasure to be working alongside you, and congratulations to you as well. Thank you.
So I think our next question is, when do we get part 2 of the book?
Yeah, I think it was actually, as Prof. Logan here says, that it was such a pleasant experience. I think for Anthea and I, it was also a very pleasant experience. And Anthea and I work very well, very in sync with each other. And that helped the process as well. And so we're looking at part 2 post-COVID. And yes, we will be sending an invite to all the authors as well. And just a little, invite to HELTASA, the HELTASA Festival. So on the 6th, so we're having the HELTASA Festival from the 5th to the 9th of December. And on the 6th of December, we're having a morning slot from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, where we've invited all the authors to present their chapters. But again, we want people to just think out of the box, and we want you to present your chapter. It could be in a song, in a poem. I know there's someone that's doing a TikTok video, something exciting, just to share your chapter in a very innovative way. So we want to welcome you, and see Craig, we are in sync as well, because there he put the advert up. Thank you, Craig, for that. So please do register. It's going to be exciting. And for those authors that have not yet signed up, I know there's 6 that have signed up to do their presentation. I think it's good to go back to the chapter, and look at the chapter, and how can you now re-present the chapter in a very different way. So I think that would be great as well. So I think Gideon's, he's written a whole lot. So maybe Gideon should speak. Gideon, why don't you tell us? So I see easels are also celebrating, Sue. They're all around me now. So instead of fireworks, when you're having the launch, I've got easels all around me. Yes, thank you, Gideon.
We also have Oliver.
Yes.
Oliver, see you.
Yeah, Gideon is ready to chat.
Hi, everybody. No, I was just thinking, we've been teaching for more than 20 years at our respective institutions. And, one becomes sort of ingrained in what you're doing to the extent that you develop these comfort zones. And I think what the ERT process really did for us was to sort of force us to take stock of where we were and where we were supposed to be. And so we spoke quite a bit about the transitioning from that space of comfort, and in terms of what we know and what we can offer the students, to moving towards centering the students more. And I think that's what ERT has done quite vividly. So the process of sort of reflecting in action, taking stock of where we were at that particular time, and then reflecting on action, so what are the alternatives, what are we going to do, and then reflecting for action, what are we going to put in place to assist not only our students, but also our thinking about our pedagogies in more organic and dynamic ways, so that the curriculum becomes something that's alive and much more meaningful, and where it sort of meets students where they are at, at that particular moment. I think that was quite important for us, and I think the shifts in realization for us as educators in sort of recognizing not that it's not only the students' struggle, but it's also ours, and that the struggle is something we do together. So that entering into that space of discomfort, was quite organic for us, and I think it sort of opened up new ways of viewing ourselves as lecturers and as caregivers in the educational setting, because it's not only us that take care of students, it's also the students who take care of us, and I think that relationship is something that should be nurtured. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah, and I think we're so busy, especially in higher education. We are busy with our lecturing, academic development. We be involved in different projects that we don't take the time to pause. And I think COVID allowed us, or it forced us to take that pause. And I think that's important. And I think also the reflection is important, to make that space to reflect on our practice. And I'm also very interested in contemplative practices as well. How do we contemplate what we're doing? And I think that what I liked about this book is that we had lecturers together with academic developers. We also had writing center staff as well that all collaborated on this book. So that was great. And so we have a really variety of different experiences all coming together. Yes, anyone else? I see a hand. Let me just, I don't know where Sue disappeared. To Oliver, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and great job to the editors and the authors. I agree. I think for us, I'm at Helm at University South Africa, and I think the focus on reflection is key because we spend so much of our time doing lots of stuff, and we don't really step out and step back to see what we're doing, how we're doing, and why we're doing it. And I think, so from our side, Helm, I've been talking to Rita about a partnership between Helm and HELTASA for some time. I think here's an opportunity to give effect to that. For me, what I'd really like to see that this book just doesn't become purely academic, in inverted commas. It is a kind of a marriage of theory and praxis, which I'd like to see ways in which we can take that and implement, and perhaps look at a proposal where we could, beyond your conference, run perhaps regional workshops collaboratively on some of the areas in the book. Because in Helm, there's also a very strong focus on student success, on teaching and learning, and supporting that through capacitation. So that discussion I'd like to take further with the HELTASA, chair, president, and all the executive. But great job. This is fantastic, comes at the right time. So let's really make it work and let it benefit the entire sector while we work on part 2. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Oliver. And I see our president has given us the thumbs up. So thanks so much, Oliver. Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks for your comment as well, Dr. Seal. I just got a message from Sue that load shedding has hit on her side. So if there's anyone else who would like to make another comment, we'll take one last comment before we go over to the thanks. Anyone else? You're welcome.
I'd like to hear Professor Logan. Because
Professor Logan.
Yes.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Good evening, colleagues. And I really want to express my heartfelt thanks to this fantastic team, to Rosalind and Anthea, and also to Sean for being so patient. He was absolutely amazing. Sean, you were such a star. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for that. And what I want to say is that the entire process was so brilliantly coordinated, and the support was absolutely phenomenal. And Rosalind kept us abreast of everything that was happening and supporting us every step of the way. And what I would also like to say is I really want to thank Anthea from the bottom of my heart for teaching me a wonderful new theory that, was just a kind of figment of my imagination. That is the reflection theory. What? So what? Now what? And thank you so much, Anthea, because that stimulated me to read more. And I then was able to use that theory, to fashion my thoughts and to pull my ideas together, to think about my own experiences, and where I was at the time and how I grew into what I became and the road that still lies ahead of me, that is under construction. So heartfelt thanks to you, beautiful, beautiful ladies, for everything that you have done and for pulling everything together so brilliantly. It was so effortless and so wonderful to work with a team like you guys, because you were just supportive every step of the way. And where we floundered, you held our hand, you pulled us up, and you helped us along the way. And at the end of the day, we have this amazing book. And congratulations to all the amazing authors for the wonderful, wonderful chapters and the brilliant work that our academics and all our support staff are doing across the institutions in South Africa. We really appreciate it, and we really applaud each and every one of you for the amazing work that you're doing. So thank you very much to this fantastic team and your colleagues as well across the
Thanks so
institutions.
much. Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you
so
so
much.
much.
That was beautiful.
Truly humbled.
Okay, over to you, Anthea. I think you can go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Before you go ahead, Anthea, perhaps we
Yeah, Rita, you
on
broke up.
cheering for both of you and all the authors. Sorry, I'm saying maybe we can unmute just for a moment and give you some voiced cheering for the wonderful work you have all accomplished. Maybe we can all unmute for a moment and do that. Really well done, colleagues.
Well done.
Everybody
Well done. Well done. Yes.
Nash.
Cheers.
Bas.
3 cheers for this collaboration. Hip hip.
Hooray.
Well done.
I think, Anthea, before the vote of thanks, maybe we should just do a picture with everyone, and then we go on to the
Yes.
vote of thanks. Yeah.
Yes, in fact,
so
someone
let's-
commented about
yeah.
that in the chat.
Yes, I did see that. So let's, for the brave at heart, and those of you not in your pajamas, if you can just, yeah, so we want to see your cameras. Right. So I could see Shla, we can't see. Okay. There's someone that's there. It's just very blurred. Shla, just check that your camera is open there. Right, it's good to see all the faces finally. All the faces. Okay, can we have more people? Okay, so where's Sean? Because Sean is our go-to guy when it comes to digital stuff.
So Sean
Sean,
will do
are
the
you around?
necessary.
Sean.
Sean, please do the job, Sean. Is Sean still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in load shedding.
Oh,
not sure.
okay. So let's see. Let me try. Okay, cheese, everyone.
Cheese.
Yes.
And let's try another one. Cheese.
Cheers.
Okay, so hopefully I will have those pictures now. Let me check. Okay, I can see one screenshot. Okay, let's do another one. Sean, sorry about your load shedding. So let's do one more. Right, cheese, everyone. You can see that I'm prepared, hey? Okay. I'm not sure if anyone took a screenshot. Ivana, I'm not sure if you did. I did ask Ivana to do one as well. Thank you so much. So over to you, Anthea.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for your willingness to switch on your cameras so that we can end this off on a fun note. So my job is now to do the vote of thanks before you can go off and enjoy a rather late supper with the rest of your families. First of all, to the members of the HELTASA board and the HELTASA Coordinating Council for their support
and funding of this book project. A huge, massive thank you for listening to our idea and for accommodating our idea. Special acknowledgement to Professor Kasturi Bihari Leek, ex-president and chairperson of HELTASA, for supporting this book from its inception. With her guidance and her words of encouragement, we really do appreciate that. To Nomfundo Sikwedi, for your patience and your timeous processing of so many requisitions and responding to queries with such great diligence. You are fabulous to work with. Thank you, Nomfundo. To the authors, for your contributions, you are the superstars. Adhering to timelines, we thank you. And tolerating our many emails and our updates. Thank you for that. And also for your willingness to serve as peer reviewers. We are immensely proud of you. To the Durban University of Technology Library, thank you that we could use the DUT Press to publish the book. To Sean, an absolute stalwart and mega superstar in my books. You are so dependable. Sean guided Rosalind and myself through the uncharted waters of putting together an online book with unmatched kindness, without asking questions or without ever saying no. He would promptly respond to all of our emails and queries in the blink of an eye, no matter the time of day. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Sean, from the bottom of our hearts. To the director of the DUT Library for your support and encouragement and for your talk this evening and informing us a little bit more about open access. To Ink Giraffe Graphics Design Company for the design of the book cover as well as the back of the book. Thank you very much to Kelsey Kluter. To Nareshni Governor Communications for the proofreading and the layout of the book. Thank you so much. To our reviewers, Dr. Jane Skinner and Dr. Caroline Goodyear, for your meticulous feedback and sharing of your scholarship. We will always be indebted to you for all of your valuable inputs. Our program director, Prof. Sue Pather, who has unfortunately dropped off because of load shedding, for your support and encouragement. To the HELTASA President and Chairperson, Rita Ganas, for being our cheerleader all the way. Just before we came into the session, she sent out the WhatsApp to say, we are so immensely proud of you, and you are really one of our greatest cheerleaders. So thank you so much, Rita. To our colleagues, friends, and family, for your support and your patience and for bearing with us as we work through this project, oftentimes after hours, over weekends, at night. Thank you, thank you, thank you for understanding. To my co-editor, you are an absolute pleasure to work with. You are a true gem. You mentioned earlier on that we just clicked and we are just in sync, and that doesn't happen often. So I thank you for our paths having crossed. Thanks for all the soundboarding and sharing of ideas. I truly learned such a lot from you. Last but not least, thank you to all of you for coming out to share with us in this joyous moment. Thank you for coming to attend this book launch. We are because of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm going to hand back to Rosalind to close this book launch session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I also want to echo what Rita said in the beginning. We did it our way. And yes, we did it our way. We had to find our way. We had to navigate our way. But we did it our way. We did it the HELTASA way with all the support. And thank you to everyone that responded. I know we sent the call out last year and we had people that responded and they've really stuck with us throughout. So thank you so much to all the authors. And, you know, as we've said, the book is about reflecting on our practice. And I just want to echo what we've said over in this launch as well, that as reflective and reflexive practitioners, it is imperative that we interrogate our practices, that we reflect on our own learning. And this is not just only during COVID, but every day that we do take time to reflect and that we create spaces for reflection. And hopefully, as the HELTASA Professional Learning Project, of which I am the manager and Anthea is a team member there, we also want to create these spaces for reflection. And it's important that when we create these spaces for reflection, it actually reveals new insights and understandings about who we are and what we do. And as the chapters show, it's so important to actually be authentic and to be authentic in our work as well. And as Gibbs, I just want to close with what Gibbs says, that it's not sufficient to have an experience to learn. Without reflecting on this experience, it may be quickly forgotten or its learning potential lost. And we're so glad that the book was a space in which to reflect on our experience, that we can learn from our experience. So thank you once again to everyone that has come out. Thank you to Anthea. You know, this book has come to an end, but I don't think the relationship has come to an end because I see the call for the other book and it's already in the pipelines. So, you know, it's something for us to think about as well. And, you know, it was really, as I'm saying again, it was really great working with Anthea. It's just a beautiful relationship, you know, and a sister, collegial, friend kind of relationship, which was great. So thank you, everyone. And we want to wish you well. You can see how good we are because we're finishing on time. We actually got 5 minutes left on the clock. So thank you so much. So again, a reminder to everyone to please register for the HELTASA conference. It's from the 5th to the 9th of December. And on the 6th of December from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we want to have fun in our session. So if you've not registered, you go back now to your computer before you get on with supper, register. It's only 1,000 Rand. That isn't much. It's 1,000 Rand to register and then fill in the forms. I've sent you all the documents and the links as well.
Which will include next year's membership registration fees.
Yes. So it includes the membership fees for next year, and you're part of this professional organization as well. And on the Friday, which is the 9th, we're planning on having a hybrid session. So we will have, you know, communities in different places. So for those of you who are near DUT, we will be meeting at DUT as well. So we want to wish you a good night. Thank you for coming out. And a big congratulations to everyone. We don't have the fireworks, so we're lighting it on Monday, so we don't have any. But congratulations to everyone and God bless. Take care. And they don't forget to stop the recording. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.